What's going on, everyone? So I am super stoked today. I get to talk to Alex Slawecki about the Mind Mentor and how important mindset is and how you can shift your mindset through a mind analysis. And this is amazing stuff. It kind of puts perspective into analyzing what you actually think about and how to pre-frame things in your everyday life. So Alex, for those that don't know you, can you give a little bit of a backstory of like who you are and what you do?
Sure. So, my name's Alex. I started this company called Mind Mentor, and it really came out of understanding that I had this superpower for most of my life and never really took advantage of it, where I can help facilitate and guide people to their very authentic selves by helping them introspect and reflect and kind of figure out their core reasons why they think the way they think, why they desire what they desire, why they're afraid of what they're afraid of. And most people are not self-aware. We think that we're self-aware. Actually, it's less than 15% of the population who is, by criteria, self-aware, which is crazy to me. And so I basically started to figure out what I can do for people is to create something like a mind analysis report, where I can go through and help them figure out all those things like I was mentioning about. I used to do it in person with people actually for fun. I had a bit of a big ego of psychoanalyzing people to a bit degree. And it wasn't until this last year I did my own kind of self-reflection through various experiences and realized I could be using that for good.
Right. Well, I mean, we all have our superpower, right? Like yours is helping people overcome situations by, like you said, analyzing and analyzing what it is that's holding them back and allowing them to take their business to that next level. And I think that's so important that people actually realize that superpower and take advantage of that. So you just mentioned your mind analysis. Can you go a little bit deeper on what that is and how it helps people?
Yeah, so the process is such. I basically give a what I call a self-mind analysis report to someone to fill out all a bunch of questions on their vision, their goals, things about like different questions that are rooted in cognitive behavioral techniques, which is CBT, and other kind of very deeply introspective questions that they could take about an hour or even two, depending on how really deep you go into your own mind, and you write it all down. And that process in itself I've found has helped clients enormously, because no one takes the time to sit down and go through specific questions designed to actually bring them to a much more deeper rooted place in their own mind. So that's usually the first step. Then I take that report and I analyze it for them, and I produce a completely comprehensive mind analysis summary and action plan. And what this essentially does is it gives you a review of the client self-mind analysis that you filled out, which is a complete data summary of everything you wrote down in nice consolidation. And then it actually goes into a very in-depth assessment of all the core issues that I potentially see, and it highlights all of those limiting beliefs that you might have, all of the patterns that you might be kind of falling into, what kind of areas of your mind that you should really look deeper into. And then I provide you with your strengths and your skills that I see. And then I give you actually recommended areas of focus for you to work on and specific potential strategies you can implement over the next 12 months with either a therapist, a life coach, or obviously with me, to really make some huge change and create sustainable self-awareness that helps you become more authentic with your life, your relationships, and obviously with your business. Because what I found is a lot of people are trying to do business for reasons that they don't understand. When we think about our why, and that's such a big thing in today's, like, to be successful is to really understand your why. But people are finding kind of surface level reasons for their why, right, and they don't even know it. They might think, I really want to make a change because I love helping people.
Right.
And it's like, it's crazy because there's so many, I have so many examples where I would help someone, go from thinking that they want to make money for their child, that's their core why. And it really came down to that they were an alone person in a corner when they were in kindergarten, and they were avoided and didn't feel heard. And that's their real why. And once you find that out, once you understand like that really true reason why you're doing what you're doing, your entire life changes, your entire outlook changes, and your drive towards your goals, your dreams becomes so much more realistic because you actually understand what's been driving you subconsciously for your entire life. And that's what I do. And that's basically, I create immediate change. I keep getting people telling me their entire life changes, their entire perspective and interpretation of the reality changes because this newfound truth, really, it's the truth that's inside of you. Only I help you bring it out way faster than it would take, 10 months in a therapy session or 10 months in a life coaching session or something like that. That's not therapy, but it's just, it's more of a, hey, this is what actually could be going on behind everything you're doing.
I think that's so cool too, because you're able to have actionable steps to work on, kind of like business goals in a sense, but self goals. And a lot of people just don't take the time to have a goal for themselves and kind of stretch it over the course of a year so that they have actionable steps along the way. So they have milestones to hit. So they have these things that they should be doing. And instead of and I see this all the time online, as a lot of people just go on Facebook, post, hope to get some kind of engagement, hope to do, make $1,000 day or whatever that is. And there's no like actual actionable steps that they're taking. And that's what's so important about having a mentor or a coach, is because you're having someone guide you and push you all along the way and get you where you want to be, because it's their kind of superpower to do that, right? Like even the most brilliant athletes or brilliant investors in the world have coaches to help them push to that next level. I mean, Tiger Woods had a coach. Michael Jordan had a coach. Even though these guys are amazing athletes, they had coaches there to support them every step of the way. Even though they didn't have coaches that were better than them in that particular area of expertise, but they had someone to give them an outside perspective or a third-party perspective on what they're doing and how they can just shift like 1 degree or 2 degree to make a great change in their life. And that's what's so important about having someone there for you to take your business, your life to that next level. And that's exactly what you do. So why is mindset so important?
So, I mean, mindset is that's a funny word because there's states of mind, that you have so many different states of mind. You have a mind state or a mindset, which is more growth mindset versus fixed mindset.
Right.
So that's important because if you don't have a growth mindset, you're obviously going to stay stagnant, feel stuck. And that I think is like the number one mindset that people find themselves in, that kind of creates this illusion of stagnation, this illusion of having to get somewhere else to feel better. And that's important, obviously, because if you're in that mindset, you're never going to feel better. It doesn't matter if you're doing your goals. It doesn't matter if you're pursuing things and you're making progress. Even if you're still in that mindset, in a limited mindset, you're not going to feel happy or accomplished. So in terms of mindset, that's just it's like it's trying to put something in gear that it doesn't belong in. You're not going to make that necessary momentum in the wrong mindset.
Right.
But yeah, I personally don't necessarily. I just wanted to go back with what you said about a mentor and a coach, because I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't say I'm a coach. That's why I created Mind Mentor, because I feel like I'm more of a mentor that helps provide accountability by allowing someone to come back to their grounded state of mind, their authentic self. And a lot of life coaches deal with niches and kind of goals and set accomplishments. They say, what do you want to do? Okay, I'm going to get you to do that. I don't really do that. I basically I bring you back to your authentic self that might actually be completely something different than what you want to do. Because I find that if you don't understand yourself to a better level, a deeper level, it doesn't matter if you're moving towards your goal today. In 10 years, 20 years, you might have some kind of crisis because you realize you just spent the last 20 years doing something that is an inauthentic version of yourself.
Right.
Which happens a lot.
Well, you hear like these midlife crises all the time. Like someone, they go and their whole life, it just falls apart, and they're like, well, I've been doing something that I haven't been in love with, or I'm with this person that I'm not in love with. Why have I been doing this? And they just break down, and they just go on, have a midlife crisis. And yeah, so I guess that's exactly what you're trying to prevent, is people to not think that they've wasted 20 years of their life doing something that they just didn't enjoy.
Yeah, it's a lot about creating authentic, strong relationships and connections, because that's all what we are ultimately trying to do is connect with people.
Right.
But if you're not authentic in your pursuit of connection, that's going to be problematic in some way or another form later on in life. And I think that's what I help prevent people from experiencing.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I think of like a house, right? Like if the foundation cracks, the whole house is going to crumble. And if I mean, that's an exaggeration, but the more.
Sorry, that's my Alexa. She's reminding me of, I think, of our meeting that we're supposed to have.
That's great. So yeah, like if your foundation is cracked, like you're going to have huge problems down the road, because you're going to have, structural issues. You're going to have pipes that burst, and that's exactly what the human body does. If your foundation's not rooted and not solid, you're going to have these midlife crises, and that's exactly how you're able to kind of not patch the foundation, but literally remove it and rebuild a better foundation so that it lasts a lifetime. And I think that's so phenomenal that you're able to help people overcome these things. So what is some of the common, I guess, problems or issues that people come to you about, and have you helped them work through?
So what I've seemed to be helping people the most with is codependency, and a lot of like just general fear and attachments to future hypothetical scenarios, or wanting to be loved, placing all of their hopes and desires and dreams on a hypothetical future, or becoming, getting in a good relationship or being loved. So it seems to be a common theme around love and feeling alone and things like that. And how I help them is, well, through the mind analysis, it's everything's custom. There's not one solution to each person. But I mean, in some cases, I will flat out tell you, not in a insulting, not in an insulting way, but in an extremely unbiased, observational way through my writing. Because writing is also, I'm much better at writing than I'm speaking, and I will explain how somebody actually was really obsessed about being the victim, playing the victim mindset, and a lot of that has to do with narcissism. And I don't diagnose at all. I'm not diagnosing you, but I will provide you with symptoms of narcissism, and I will explain, it seems like you're displaying symptoms of narcissism because X, Y, and Z. Now, that doesn't mean that you're a full-out diagnosed narcissist. However, when people read that about themselves objectively, it takes them back. It punches them in the face at first, but then after they process it through a report, as opposed to listening to it through to a person or a therapist or a coach, that has a whole bunch of barriers in itself. When you listen to people speak to you and criticize you, it's a very different process for your brain to interpret that information than it is to read it.
Right.
And I found that it's amazing. People will shift their entire perception and find an acceptance of their own personality so much faster when they read a report, an analysis of their mind, and just a general, unbiased, a fully detailed explanation. I mean, these things are like, I'm not kidding. It could take me about 8 hours to do. I extensively write, because I'm not just saying, oh, you have narcissistic traits. Like, no, like I take the time to explain every single observation that I have, which I think goes a long way for people.
And I love that you said it's not a one size fits all, because when I was a trainer, I remember, these online coaches, they create this program and they don't realize like not everyone is the same. Like they try and make everyone into a one size fits all, but unfortunately that's not what life is. Like we have different hormone levels that we all have. We have different environments. We have all sorts of different types of culture and food that we eat, and all sorts of different not pattern behavior, but moving, what was the word I was looking for? Movement patterns that we just aren't able to do. Like not everyone has the same kind of ability to squat, because they have movement impingements is the word I was looking for. So many people have these issues, and so many people try and put everyone in a single box. And it's funny because all these courses too, like you see some of these high ticket courses or affiliate programs, and they think that all these programs are going to work for everyone, but that's why 90% or 95% of these people fail in these online courses, because one, they don't go through it. They don't take the time, and they think it's going to work for them if it worked for this other person, which is not the case, because you really need to structure it based on your own audience and take what you've learned and adapt it to your own self. And I think that's what's so great about you is you actually analyze each individual person and take the time, like you said, up to sometimes 8 hours to really break down what it is that they're doing so that you can actually take your business, take your life to that next level. And I think that's so phenomenal. So I think that a lot of people need to stop buying into these one size fits all high ticket programs that are kind of baloney in a sense, and start getting a mentor, get a coach who has like a general program that kind of fits into what you do, but also coaching that goes involved with that, because it allows you to get a general idea of what it is that you have, but then ultimately direct you based on what they see and how they're able to kind of guide you in a sense. So, and that's exactly what you do. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I like how you framed all that, and it made me think of kind of think of another way to frame what I do is I kind of help you recalibrate your mind and bring it back to it, that if you're like a chemist, you recalibrate something to make it at its base level, because we go throughout life experiencing and interpreting and having all this information that influences our ego and influences our perception of our reality, our suffering, what we want in life, social norms, our values. And we can get so lost in the clutter, in the manipulation of society, in the manipulation of whatever comes into our five senses, that we forget of our original awareness and intention. And that's how I help recalibrate your mind, by breaking up all this clutter and all this bullshit and kind of bringing you back to the awareness of what you were and how you are before all of that stuff that manipulated your perception of your being. And when you start at that fundamental level, like you said, the foundation, and you build from that, you become a way stronger person and
Right.
individual, which equates to a better business person, if we want to stick to the business theme, which again, I think is so many entrepreneurs are lacking that fundamental core process, because no one's teaching it. No one knows how to do it. really, which is something that I've found that I'm really good at doing that. Nobody else seems to be good at doing that, but I'm like the worst at marketing myself, which is another problem that I have.
Well, I mean, and it's what's great is once you have that, like your why, like you were talking about earlier, you're able to leverage other people and use their why to help you grow your business. I mean, that's just what leverage is. And so many people, like, to kind of keep on the whole business aspect, so many people just don't have a solid foundation in business. I mean, I see all these people online who are doing the sexiness of marketing, but they don't even have like a blog to push organic traffic, to build authority, to build domain authority. Some people even aren't even collecting the email list. And it's so funny because I see some of these programs where they tell you not to build an email list, because it's so, like, I don't know, I don't get it. And they actually restrict you from doing it, which is a whole nother thing. But I think it's so crazy that a lot of people just don't even have a solid foundation. And it starts with having confidence in yourself and understanding what your true why is. And it's like you said, is a lot of people just do surface level, oh, I want to make more money, or oh, I want to take care of my family. But those are very surface level. And if you keep asking yourself, why do I want to do that? Or why do I want to make more money? Or why do I want to help my family? It comes to being a much deeper rooted issue that needs to be solved and needs to lay a new foundation so that you can, again, like you said, build up and grow even stronger in your business, in your life, in in your family, whatever that is. So I think that's a phenomenal thing that you do, is you're able to create a new foundation for people, a stronger foundation, and allow them to take their life to that next level.
Yeah, and another thing you made me think of is a lot of people think it's like a one and done. Like, let me figure out my core why. Oh, I figured it out. Now I'm good. But when in reality, it's not about figuring out your core why the one and done time. It's actually about adopting a lifestyle and a way of being that continuously questions and introspects why you're doing what you're doing. Repetition is like one of the number one things I think is underrated, undervalued, not understood. Like, you don't learn anything unless you continuously, repeatedly learn it. We
Right.
don't learn something once and then we do it. We just continuously have to repeat. And that's it. Like, that's the secret, is just keep repeating what you're actually supposed to be learning. And that includes self-aware lifestyle. So if you're not continuously having like some kind of introspection session, which again, a mentor could help facilitate for you, so you don't have to do it by yourself, because it's really hard to actually be very advanced at introspection alone, because you have cognitive biases and you have your own limitations within your mind that you are literally can't pass through unless you have someone else who thinks differently, kind of take you out of that. So you need to like continue that process of introspection, which I think is a whole nother process entrepreneurs are not practicing enough and maybe not even aware of.
Yeah, I mean, that, like you said, the number one learning tool is not repeating, but continuously relearning what you've learned, and making sure that it becomes almost second nature. That's how we obviously learn, is by repeating what we just learned. I mean, for me, I constantly am immersing myself in something that is a new skill set. So like whenever I get into something new, I literally stop whatever I'm doing. I go full in and immerse myself in that business. And like when I was buying real estate, I immersed myself into it. I was listening to Bigger Pockets. I was listening to podcasts. I was taking action. I was failing. I was relearning. And failure is a huge learning opportunity. More data points that you can take and use those data points to learn what you did was right or what you did was wrong, and ultimately take that and continuously learn. And like I was saying, real estate, I can always learn. And when I was in marketing, and still am, I am constantly listening to podcasts when I'm working out. I'm reading books. I'm buying mentorship programs. I'm doing all these things to immerse myself in that. So I'm bombarded with with knowledge in a sense, and then I take action. I learn what worked, what didn't, and then I take what I've learned and I double down on it, and then again I immerse myself into more tactics based on what actually worked. And then I learn, take action, fail, take those failures and those wins, restructure them, pre-frame them into a learning opportunity versus like a failure. And then again, immerse myself into that next thing. And that's exactly how we learn, is by repeating, like you were saying. So I think that is so crucial, that a lot of business owners are so afraid of failing and showing their failures, instead of and not taking responsibility for their failures and just blaming it on other people, and not ever learning because it's someone else's fault. So and it's just, it's a whole mindset thing, and being able to take responsibility for what you've done and moving past that. So I kind of want to go over taking responsibility, because I know we kind of briefly talked about this, but a lot of people get kind of tied up on the past. So how do you get past that? Like, how do you not have a limiting belief because of your past, of why you can't do something?
So yeah, we typically either think of the past or the future. We don't tend to live in that present moment. And the reasoning is because Western, I don't know, like our society, our culture promotes to only live in the future, only live in the past. And, like Buddhism and things like that, they had it right. And that kind of religion and perspective on living and being is actually finally catching up to science, or science is catching up to that, I should say. So it's really about mindfulness, which is a buzzword that people don't fully understand. Same with meditation, but that's a whole nother conversation. It's really about developing the ability to perceive and interpret your reality for what it truly is in the moment that you're experiencing it, and being appreciative, and actually developing appreciative joy, which is something that we don't tend to, a lot of people don't even know what appreciative joy is, and a lot of people don't really understand how to cultivate it, because we have this conditioning in our minds that tells us we need something else to be happy, or we can't be happy because something happened to us.
Right.
So it's either the future or the past, and there's, just like a pendulum, there is a middle. There's a middle. It does exist, and it's right now. And once you develop that ability to just acknowledge that, and you start to make that space bigger so you can spend more time in the middle than in the future and the past, your entire outlook on life starts to change. And that comes with meditation, that comes with mindful practice, that comes with rewiring your brain and creating new connections within your brain that actually allow you to do that. You can't do it unless you make those connections in your brain biologically. So that's another thing people don't understand, is there's a huge biological component to perception and mindset. And if you don't understand how to condition and strengthen and build and grow and develop those actual connections within your mind and your brain, of course you're not going to be able to feel okay. They don't exist yet. The connections don't exist. In fact, I got to remember the correct terminology, but the neural pathways develop a sheath. So like you think of a sword, right? And you put a sheath over it for protecting that sword. Mm-hmm. It's the same concept within your brain. When you make connections, say positive associations or negative associations, the more you create those associations, the more those electrical signals get basically travel like a highway. And your brain actually is very smart, and it's very efficient, and it wants to conserve energy for metabolism and things like that for survival. So what it does is it creates these sheaths around those pathways, around those connections, those electrical transferences of associations, to make them stronger and faster, so they have less of a chance to be destroyed, to be eliminated, to be reconnected. So all those negative associations that you keep making over and over and over in your brain are just building stronger and stronger and thicker sheaths so that they can't be knocked down or destroyed. So you have to work on those actual neural pathways and eliminate those sheaths first, and start to develop simultaneously stronger pathways in your brain to make stronger positive logical associations. So it's not like it's an easy quick fix, which is why I hate those 5 things to do to switch your mindset, and whatever those you see those things all over the
Frameworks.
place.
Yeah. And it's just marketing, right? A lot of marketing is based on emotion. And luckily for people that are, I guess, more investors, or like people like you who are more analytical and think of things that are like make sense, like not just feeding off emotion and your heart, like using your mind to actually think of, okay, is this a good investment, or is this something I need to do? And instead of just trying to pull at people's heartstrings, that's the one thing I don't like about marketing. Is it's a lot of trying to manipulate people, and I think that's just a very a bad thing to do. And so
And
I think
I get it. I mean, we both get it. It's kind of like necessary in some fashion. But yeah, like I completely agree. It's manipulation, and that's like exactly what I want to actually teach people about, because they don't have to necessarily be manipulated to buy something.
right.
So
No, it's insane. I mean, I talk about this all the time. Like, do your research about people, because like I mean, we live in a digital world where you can Google anything. And I mean, I show tactics where these people show these outrageous I guess, income statements, and I show them how easy it is to manipulate online. And I'm just like, use your common sense instead of just buying in to something because it's a new shiny object. And so a lot of these people just get suckered in and manipulated into buying some kind of course, some kind of high ticket program, or or these gurus who like to tell stories and manipulate people. And I think it's a very wrong thing to do. And that's why it's so important to have a solid foundation and have a solid base, because if you're not easily manipulated, then you can actually make the right decision and do what's best for you versus jumping on the next bandwagon. So,
yeah.
So go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, I was gonna put you on the spot. I was gonna ask you, what is common sense?
That's a great question. Common sense, I think, is just based on your own perspective. I mean, we all have our own perspective of what we see in kind of the world, but I guess it's a collective of what most people agree on would be common sense. But we live in such a weird world, because what common sense in the United States could be different in China, or it could be different in some other culture, because the common sense is based on our environment. And if environment in one area is different than the other, it's going to be a whole different kind of common sense. So I think it really just depends on where you're from and kind of what your cultural background is.
Yeah.
Would that be a good definition?
Yeah. It's I think it has a lot more to do with critical. It's definitely influenced by cultural biases and norms and things like that. But yeah, it's a function of critical thinking and deductive reasoning, which I think why I asked that is because, yeah, I think a lot of people, common sense might not exist anymore in today's day and age. Just technology has really influenced our collective consciousness and our norms. I mean, the way we think, the way the things we value is literally being pushed onto people in ways that we can't even comprehend, because AI is just exponentially developing. That's literally manipulating what we value, what we see all on a day-to-day basis, and how our brains react to certain things. It's crazy. So it's just an interesting question to think about: is does common sense even exist anymore?
I could definitely go deep in the whole like manipulation thing, and I love that stuff, because I mean, if you think about it, like we drive on dopamine. I mean, constantly social media is a huge dopamine, I guess, inducer because we get likes and comments and it makes us feel good, and it's people go for engagement, and it's just dopamine after dopamine, and we're being fed spoonfuls of dopamine being on social media, which is influencing our decisions because it gives us this pleasure, a reward. But is it really? I mean, is likes and comments really helping our lives? No, it's not.
Yeah.
And so, and then obviously with radio back in the day, television today, now we have ads on our Facebook, which is all about kind of creating this. What is it called? It's not intensive marketing, but disruptive marketing. So like we have to disrupt people's behaviors or their patterns, and that's another dopamine fix. And all these different things, and we have our food that's full of sugar that increases dopamine. And to live the good life, you need to have sex a couple times a week, and that's dopamine. And people are feeding this stuff into our minds just based on social media and media in general. So yeah, I mean, what is common sense? We can definitely jump down the whole rabbit hole on that. So I mean, it's crazy. I try and limit my social media. I mean, I typically post 2 or 3 times a day. I do my live, and then I focus on things I need to work on instead of constantly scrolling. I think that's why a lot of people say be a producer, not a consumer, because if you're producing, you're putting information and content out there versus just constantly getting those dopamine fixes. And it's addictive, right? Dopamine is an addictive kind of not substance, but hormone. And if we get our dopamine fixes, we're constantly craving for more. And it's very insane, the social media is too, and how toxic it is, especially for younger generations. I think that we're going to see a interesting world again the next 10 years, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, a personal story. I've had a flip phone for the last 28 years, and when I was in high school, I predicted this, to be honest. I saw it. Everybody was getting Facebooks. Everyone was getting smartphones. I used to see people do selfies all the time and texting all the time and going on social media. I was so anti-Facebook when I was in high school, and people thought I was weird when I got to college because I didn't have a Facebook or a smartphone. People still, up until 8 months ago when I had to get a smartphone because of business now, people would just look at me like, what the hell is that? Like, I have a flip phone. And it's like crazy to me because everyone around, I feel like I grew up in this world where everyone was under this illusion where everyone's connected to each other on social media virtually, but they're like all disconnected, and they're all connected to, agendas, third-party agendas that are just manipulating them when they don't even know it. And then I'm just here with a flip phone all alone watching everybody. And so, yeah, that's just a personal thing. I'm writing a blog about it, exactly what you were talking about. So that's going to be on my website soon.
That's great. I can't wait to read that, and I will definitely link that in the description when you post that. So speaking of which, where can more people find out more about you? Where can they get a mind analysis, and break it down for us?
So I mean, I developed a website. It's mymindanalysis.com. And everything that I ever do, I'm planning on just putting on there. I have an about page. I have like my services. I have my blogs. I have a free ebook it's called Touching on Concepts of, I always forget the title, Touching on Concepts of Meditation, Mindfulness, Existence, and Consciousness, one of the words, I forget the sequence. That just is literally a free ebook that I wrote that touches on those concepts briefly. Sorry, I have somebody at the door. What else was I saying? Oh, yeah, I just put my podcast up there I have another Instagram page at Therapist versus Life Coach, where we try and, me and my partner, who's a therapist, we interview people in the mental health industry and try and make collaboration the new norm to explain the importance of holistic approaches towards mental health and mindset and things like that. So pretty much everything is on that website. And I'm making a forum too, and a blog, like I said. Oh, and my courses. I'm coming out with some meditation courses. I created a custom meditation that facilitates a lot more of the things that I was talking about, as opposed to relaxing, like a lot of these BuzzFeed articles talk about, and yoga masters. There's a lot of stupid crap out there, to be honest, about meditation, which is not my meditation at all. And yeah, so mymindanalysis.com. You can pretty much hopefully find everything you need to know about me on there.
Perfect. And for those that don't know, Alex Slowicki, I can't pronounce names at all, so I apologize. So how do you spell that so people know how to find you and can get in contact with you?
My website?
Alex Slowicki.
Oh, well, you can just look me up on Instagram. That's probably the better way. It's at My Mind Mentor.
There you go. At my mentor, and then My Mind Mentor, and then his website is mymindanalysis.com. So check those out. They will definitely be in the show notes. They will definitely be in the comment section. So if you guys want to get your analysis, definitely check that out. And thanks so much, Alex. I appreciate you. It's been very enlightening to talk to you today, and I look forward to many talks in the future.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you doing this for me.
You're very welcome, man. I talk to you soon.
See you.
Bye-bye.